The assignment you've been given, you are supposed to recreate this. So what we have here, you are supposed to recreate it. And who can tell me the type of chart we have here? All right, good morning. Today we'll be looking at data visualization. And when we talk about data visualization, we simply mean making our data graphical for it to be seen and analyzed rather than going through the raw numbers to try to find some insights from it. Now, when you have several rows of data, by going through the data, it is actually difficult, if not impossible, to get any meaningful trends from the data. But when the data is put in a graph or a chart, within seconds you can understand the entire data. You can even have 100,000 rows of data, and a chart can display that data in 3 seconds for you to understand what is going on. Manually, you cannot look at all the numbers of, let's say, 10,000 rows of data and make sense of it. But when it is put on a chart, immediately you can tell which product is leading. You can tell which month didn't perform well. You can tell what is happening. You can tell what is happening just by visualizing your data. And this is one important part of Excel, and we want to get more details about data visualization using charts. All right, so the topic is graphical visualization of data. And it says that Microsoft Excel uses charts to graphically represent data in a visually appealing way. A chart is a powerful tool that can bring more understanding to data in a visual form than just looking at the numbers. There are different types of charts. We have column charts, we have bar charts, we have pie charts, we have line charts, area charts, donuts charts, scatter charts, and so many more that allow you to visually display your data in a variety of styles. Plotting your data on a chart makes it very easy to understand. No matter how large the data is, a chart will just give you what the data is representing in just a few seconds. And this is one of the features that has made Excel extremely useful to the whole world. And as users of Excel, we need to understand how this feature works and how to make good use of it. Now, in understanding charts, first of all, you need to know that we have different types of charts. Already, we've mentioned column charts, bar charts, pie charts, line charts, and a number of charts. You should know that we have different types. The next thing to know is that not all charts work perfectly for all types of data. There are some charts that can be used for the same kind of data and the meaning will still come out. But there are some types of data, some charts are not suited for those kinds of data, and if you try using the wrong chart for the wrong data, you will not get the meaning or the right display of your data. For your data to be plotted the right way, what you have to do is to identify the right chart for the right type of data. This is the only secret about working with charts. Each type of chart in Excel works best for a specific data type. Knowing the right type of chart to use for your kind of data is a key to bringing more meaning to your data analysis. Usually, when we see charts, we use our chart to analyze our data. Now, when you look at this chart, immediately you understand the whole data. This product in blue here, the legend will show you what that product is. I can see here desktop. I don't know if you can see. Now we have let's assume we have January. We have from January. We have January to June. Over here we have January to June. Immediately you can know the performance of that product, can't you? Yes, you can know what happened. And if you look at the product in gray, that's tablets. You can see what happened with tablets from January to June. It is so obvious. You don't have to look through a long list of data, try adding numbers to check which one went up and which one went down. The chart in just 3 seconds will let you understand the entire data, no matter how large the data is. Charts are very useful. Like I was saying, your job right now is to understand that there are different types of charts, and depending on the type of data, you need to identify the right type of charts that will work best for it. The next thing to know is that when you have a data set and you want to plot a chart out of it, you need to select the data you want to see on the chart before the chart can be plotted. Now, if you make the wrong selection, you are going to get the wrong results. For example, the assignment given to you, you are supposed to go through each of these sheets and plot the same chart we have here. Like this chart, you are going to create the same thing. Now, to create the same thing, if I don't know how to do it, and I come and I highlight everything here, I go to Insert, I go to the type of charts. I think this is the type of chart, and I click. You see that my chart is different from this chart. Over here, there is no problem with the plotting of the chart. The only problem is the data I selected. I selected the wrong type of, the wrong data. Please, are you following? So, selecting the right data is the next thing to know. It is not every time that you need to pick part of your data set. Now, what you see here together, we call it a data set. It's not every time that you need to pick parts. Sometimes you need to pick the whole thing. But sometimes you need to pick parts to give you the right result. If you try picking the whole thing, you get the wrong results. Especially when you have totals involved. Do you see total here? When there are totals involved and you select the entire data, including the total, then you have messed up everything. Because the total is generated from the numbers here. Now you have selected the numbers and you have added the total again. The total is talking about, or is referring to, the numbers we have here. You have selected the numbers, all right, and you've gone to add the total again. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yes. This should never be done. So I've highlighted without the totals now. You can see that we have totals over here on row 6, and we have totals here. I've ignored the totals. Let me do the same thing I did, and this time you will see that my chart looks similar to what we have, right? So selecting the right data is key. For the type of chart I'm looking for, I need to feed it with all this data. There are some charts you need to be careful and select parts of the data to be able to get the right chart. And so with time, you will be very skillful in these things and you'll be able to plot the right charts all the time. We want to talk about 5 popular charts in Excel, and we will learn how and when to use them. Before that, I'm going to play a short clip that will explain the importance of charts in a different way so that you understand it better. Then we'll continue.
We polled 300 art of problem solving students about what facial skills they have. 111 can wiggle both of their ears, while 57 can wiggle just one ear. 89 of them can raise one eyebrow without raising the other, while 123 can flare their nostrils. 137 can curl their tongue. 274, it's almost all of them, can make some fish lips. While only 5 of them can do that. Very special skill. Now imagine I ask you to order these from the most common skill to the least common skill. Well, you could do it with this, but you're not going to be happy about it. If you see a paragraph like this in a book you're reading, I know what you're going to do. You're going to skip it because that's painful to look at. Hard to pick out the numbers, hard to pick out the data. You want to see something maybe that looks a little bit more like this. This is a table. We have 1 row for each skill. You can pick out the skills really easily. You can pick out the numbers really easily. So I can look through here. 274, that's the highest. Fish lips is the most common. 5, that's the lowest. Weird lips, that's the least common. But, you know, if all we really care about is the order, don't care about the exact numbers here, there's an even faster way to look at these data. We can do this. This is a bar chart, or you call it a bar graph. There's 1 bar for each skill, and we can just glance at this and see immediately. Fish lips, most common, most students can do that. Weird lips, that's the hardest, almost no one can do that. You have to be a real freak to be able to do that. Now, you can also compare any 2 of these. You can quickly see. Curl tongue, that's easier than wiggle one ear. Flare nostrils, that's easier than wiggle both ears. We can put them in order, just at a glance. Tallest bar, fish lips. Next is curl tongue, next is flare nostrils, next is wiggle both ears, then raise one eyebrow, then wiggle one ear, and then last, the hardest, weird lips. So the bar chart here allows us to compare pairs very easily. We can see the relative comparison too. See, fish lips is about, on the order of twice as common as these, and it's just way, way easier than the weird lips. So the bar chart gives us a nice graphical, quick glance way to compare different skills to each other. Let's take a look at another type of chart. Here, we had another poll of all of our students, and we asked them, what's your favorite subject? Now remember, this is art of problem solving students, so there's some selection bias here. 56% said math, and 24% said science, and math is the language of science, so that's okay by us. 7% said anything but history. I'm sure math was second there too, so that's okay as well. 11% is English. I can forgive those students. I had some really good English teachers too. 2% said speech, because, well, everybody hates speech. Well, except for me. You know I love to run my mouth. So this was the result of our poll, and we draw this nice little pie chart here, where each slice of the pie is the size relative to how many people gave that answer. So 56% said math, slightly more than half the pie is the math slice. 24% said science, slightly less than a quarter of the pie is science. Then same for these, speech, almost no one said speech. It's a little tiny sliver. So I can tell just by looking at this graph what portion of the whole Without even looking closely at the numbers, I can tell at a glance a little more than half the people like math, around a quarter of them like science, almost nobody likes speech. And that's what a pie chart is good for, is revealing parts of a whole. And that's why we're not going to use a pie chart back here. These different skills don't altogether make up a whole. Back here, each student is going to fall into exactly one of these slots. And all together, when we add all these up, we'll get all the results, all of the answers to our poll. Whereas over here, some people are going to be in one or two of these. Some of them are going to be none. They're going to be people who have no skills at all, can't do any of them. And then they're going to be total freaks that can do all 7 of them. So we can't put these all together and say that these are all parts of some whole, because some people are in a bunch of these slots. Whereas here, each person is in exactly one slot, only one slot. So we can use a pie chart when we want to display parts of a whole, and that's what we're doing here.
So the video I just showed you has explained a whole lot and has tried to make us understand how data can be represented in an easier way for us to be able to understand it. This is data, all right, but trying to make sense of this data is difficult and painful. But when the data is presented in a different way, like this, it makes it a little bit easier. Better still, if you represent that data on a chart like this, it makes it way easier to understand based on what you are looking for. If we want to know the comparison, then this is the best way of representing the same data. And in this form, we can easily compare them and get our information. We learned that data is different from information. Information is when our data tells us something. So when we look at this, we can get information and know which one is the highest, which one is the lowest. We also saw the use of a pie chart here, and we saw how 2 different types of data requires 2 different charts. Based on what this data is looking for, pie chart is the best chart to use. The previous data we had, pie chart cannot be used for this because the total or this type of data doesn't form proportions or portions of a total. When we are looking for portions of a total, then we know that the best chart to use is pie. When we want to compare different values, we know the best chart to use. And so it is important to get some insight into the different types of charts and know when to use them. So the first chart we'll talk about here is called a line chart. Line chart is one of the most frequently used types of charts, typically used to show trends over a period of time. If you need to chart changes over time, consider using a line chart. This type of chart is called what? This is called a line chart. And this line chart is best used when you want to show trends or changes over time. If you want to know the performance over a period of time, then don't think of other charts. Line chart is just the best chart for that kind of data. You may have your data, but based on the information you want out of your data, you will know the type of chart to create for that data. If I want to know performance over time, then this is just the right chart to use. Now, the chart you are seeing, can you interpret it? Can you interpret this chart? Okay, tell me something about the product in orange. The name is laptop. I can see laptop. Just tell me something about laptop. Looking at the chart.
So it's like from January to February there was a little downtrend.
Exactly.
And then from February to March, it went up a bit. In April, same.
Okay.
And then it's a little decline in May.
Okay.
And decline in June.
Excellent. So looking at this line chart, we can make perfect sense of our data. We don't have to go through long list of numbers and try to make sense of the data by ourselves. That is why representing your data on a chart makes everything so easy. But then we are saying that if what you are looking for is to identify the trend over time, then line chart is the best chart to use. You can't use pie chart for this. If I want to know performance over time, can I use pie chart? I can never use pie chart. Good. So that's all we are talking about. Let's look at the next type of chart. Pie chart. Now, pie charts are best used to show the percentage contribution of each data item as compared to a total. A pie chart is most effective when plotting no more than 5 data items. All right, let me take it again. Now, pie charts are best used to show the percentage contribution of each data item as compared to a total. Usually, when we use pie charts, we want to know the proportions out of a total. So we have the total, but we want to know which proportion each product or each item took in the total. So when you look at this particular chart here, this is someone's day. The question is, how was your day? So the blue area is work. The person worked 45.8%. And this is for sleep. So you know 29.2% was sleep. 8.3% was for watching TV. 8.3 was for commuting. 8.3 was for eating. All right. So with this, we are talking about a total and the performance of each part as compared to the total. With this, you need to understand what we mean by a whole or a total. Pie charts are used to show percentage parts. Usually when we bring pie chart, we are looking for percentages. The percentage parts of a whole. What it means is that we have a whole and we want to show parts of the whole. I don't know if it makes sense to you. Yes, portions of the whole. If you are not looking for portions of the whole, then pie chart is not what to use. But if you have a total and you want to know how much each item took out of the total, then you know that you need pie chart. The second thing is that we don't use pie chart if the items are more than 5. A pie chart is most effective when plotting no more than 5 data items. Imagine we have 30 items on this pie chart. The slices will be so many, some of them will be so small that it will be difficult for you to even see. And so we have a different chart to use if the items are many. But if they are about 5 or maximum 6, you can use a pie chart. Sometimes, if they are about, let's say 10, let me put it that way, but some of them are very small. You can group all the small ones as others, and then plot what we call a child pie chart out of the parent pie chart. Let me see if I can find something like this. Please, are you here?
Yes.
We call this pie of pie charts. Pie of pie. With pie of pie, it means the items are many, but this 15 alone is made up of about 4 different items. Because they will be very, very small on the main pie charts, we have zoomed that area out onto a different pie chart, but that area is talking about just this 15%, and that 15% is shared among the 4 items that make up this small 15. So if we have 15% here, we can zoom that one out and create another pie that will be visible enough to show the other product or items on a second pie. Does it make any sense to you? This is called pie of pie. So ideally, we use pie chart for 5 items, maximum 6. But then, if you still have to use a pie chart and they are about 10, you can take all the small ones and group them as one and create a second pie or a child pie out of the parent pie. But then again, we have a different type of chart to use if the items are so many. So we'll go through the other types of charts and we'll know what to do. We have 3 more to go through. The third chart we'll talk about is called a column chart. Column chart. Now, column charts displays vertical bars proportional to values on the y-axis. When you study math, you know that the y-axis is here, and over here we have the what? The x-axis. So usually, this column charts, first of all, they are vertical. They are not horizontal. The horizontal ones are called bar charts. Sometimes we call this bar charts, but technically, vertical ones are called column charts. So the column charts are usually plotted against some data on the y-axis. The value of the data on the y-axis here is where the column chart will get to. Now, watch this. It can work with many different types of data. This is one chart that is usually compatible with several types of data. Yes, still not all types of data. Please, are you here? Yes. It is compatible with several types of data, but not all types of data. They are mainly used to reveal comparisons of categories or changes over time. They are mainly used to reveal comparison of categories or changes over time. So if you want to compare things, then the right type of chart to use is the column chart. Now, this data we have here, who can make sense of this data? By just studying the charts, looking at the charts. Gold reserves, okay. Germany is leading, wow. Okay. Okay. So Germany is leading. It says gold reserves in tons. And over here we have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. So Germany, what do you think Germany has? About 3,400. Okay. So Germany is leading The second country is France, China. China is a little bit higher than Russia, then Switzerland, Japan, and the Netherlands. We are not saying this is true or this is real. We are just telling you how column charts can be used to compare things. Now we know Germany and Japan, they are not the same, right? When it comes to gold reserves. So the column chart has been used to compare. So whenever you want to make comparisons of items, you can use this. You can also use this to find changes over time. For example, from January to December, how certain product performed. You can use column charts to also find it, or show it, or display it. When it comes to column charts, we have single bar column charts and we have clustered column charts. We have clustered column charts. For example, what we are seeing here, they are individual bars, right? And they make sense with the kind of data they are revealing, right? Now, when you look at a chart like this, over here, we are still using column charts, but this type of column chart is called clustered. With a clustered one, what it means is that for each item on the x-axis, we have a group of items to compare. So for instance, if you have January here, in January alone, you have about 4 products to compare. In February, you have another 4 products to compare. Or the same 4 products, sorry. You have the same 4 products to compare in each month. So you can tell how the 4 products performed in January, February, throughout. Over here, they are in quarters. So the first quarter, meaning from January to when? To March, this is how the products performed. In the second quarter, the same products, this is how they performed. Look at the first quarter and the second quarter and give me some information. Who can do that for me? Yes.
It means the second quarter performed better than the first quarter.
Okay. So the products here are laptop, desktop, keyboard, mouse. We have laptop in blue. Then the orange one, desktop, gray is keyboard and mouse. So looking at the products, use the product themselves to explain.
So what I'm saying is that
Yes.
if you look at the second quarter,
Yes.
even though there might the distance, the colors are different, but you see that in the second quarter, mostly this one performed better than the first quarter.
Excellent. So in the second quarter,
Individually, you can see that the orange one,
okay.
the desktop,
Yes.
performed better than all of them.
Excellent. Excellent. So here we can compare them individually in the same quarter, and compare the quarter by different quarter in groups. So when you are comparing several items in groups, you can use a clustered column chart. Does this make sense to you? It makes perfect sense. So we have single column charts and we have the clustered column chart as well. Let's look at the next chart. Now watch this. The next chart here is called what? Bar chart. Bar charts are typically used to compare several categories of data. I repeat, bar charts are typically used to compare several categories of data. Bar charts are ideal for visualizing the distribution or proportion of data items when there are more than 5 data items. Okay, so you can see that when the data items are so many and you want to compare them, either their proportions out of a total, or you just want to compare and there are so many, then bar chart is the best chart to use. we learned that the pie chart is best used for items that are just about 5 or less, or at most 6, right? But then this bar chart can be used for several items. So if you check here, we have the English Premier League for the football lovers, and let's say these are the what do you think this will be? Their scores. Okay, fine. So because there are so many, we can't use pie chart for this. Do you think we can use pie chart for this? Pie chart, even if we use, we'll struggle. If we create a pie of pi, those who don't understand pie of pi will struggle to make sense of it. But with this, is it not very clear to you? Please, is it clear to you?
Yes.
It's perfectly clear. So with a bar chart, it is used to show comparisons of several data items. So we have seen when bar charts are useful. So your job is to know the different types of charts and when to use the right type of chart for your data. The last chart we'll be talking about is called scatter charts. After this one, we will have our exercise and you will answer some questions. With a scatter chart, it says scatter charts are also known as scatter plots. Sometimes they are called XY scatter plots. XY scatter plots. They are still the same. It uses dots to represent values for two different numeric variables. Scatter plots uses dots to represent values for two different numeric variables. The X and Y axis work together to represent data plots on the charts based on the intersection of X values and Y values. Scatter plots are used to observe relationships between two variables. This is interesting. Now let's look at this. On the x-axis, we have what is called hours spent what? And here we have what do we have here? Okay, good. So here we have two variables here. Hours spent studying and the performance. Okay. Now, someone spent 4 hours studying and he got what? 90 or 90 plus. So here we have two variables and we use both variables to indicate the dot on the chart. Whenever there is data that you want to represent visually and then sit back and analyze the whole data, when there are two variables to compare, this is the best chart to use. Over here we have hours of studying and exam score. When I have data like this, I know that the hours of studies will be my x-axis, exam scores will be my y-axis, and with this kind of data, I just need to plot the points on the graph based on the two variables I have. If you have data like this, You are not supposed to use a pie chart for it. If your data is like this, we are just trying to tell you that not all charts work best for all types of data. If your data is like this, the best chart for something like this is called a scatter chart or a scatter plot. In Excel, you can create so many charts. And there are so many charts out there that you should learn about. The last time when we were learning our project management, we learned that there was a chart called the Gantt chart. Gantt chart. And it's so useful for project management. It's the best chart for project management. So there are a number of charts. All right, so in Excel, you are going to have your data, and your job is to plot your chart out of your data. If you are asked to plot a chart for just the first quarter, then you need to highlight just the first quarter of your data. So the first quarter is here. Usually, what we have here and here are what will be used for my X and Y axis. What is at the corner here doesn't matter most of the time. It will usually be ignored. And the data selected here is what will be used to plot the actual chart or graph. So if you ask a question to plot a chart for the first quarter, then you need to select just that data. If you add April, you are not going to get the result you are looking for. And most of the time, when there are totals, don't make a mistake of adding the totals, because adding the total doesn't even make any sense. The total is made up of the data here, and you have selected already, and you are adding the total again. Do you understand what I'm saying? Good. So you don't add the total. So you highlight this like this, and you go to the Insert tab. To insert a chart, the only tab that will give you your chart is the Insert tab. Go to the Insert tab, look right, and you get to the chart group. In the chart group, you have all the charts you need. Starting from the first chart here, when you click on the arrow, always look for the arrow, you will see the type of charts here. This one is for column charts. And the column chart appears in 2D and 3D forms. Bar charts are also here. So the first one here is for column and bar. When you are looking for column and bar, this is where you should come to. The difference between the 2D and the 3D is just about how they will show. If you look at the 3D, you can see that it is showing in a solid form, in a three-dimensional form. But the 2D is a flat form. When you select 3D, it shows you in a solid form for you to see it in a three-dimensional way. Anytime we talk about 3D, it means you can see three sides. Here we can see the front view, the top view, and the right view. Can you see three sides? Yes. So this is called 3 dimensions. That's the only difference between 2D and 3D. Now, the 3D one may look nice to you, but usually when it comes to being professional, you need to stick to the 2D. Because in business, sometimes we don't do fancy things. In business designs, sometimes we don't do fancy things. 2D is just okay sometimes for what you want to show, and everything is straightforward. In all of graphic design, we have understood that business things are always simple and straightforward. We don't do a lot of stylish things in business. So for business people or business presentations, 2D always prevails over the 3D. All right, so let's see what happened here. Over here, we have the legend. The bottom here, we call it what? The legend. The legend is here. And we have our x-axis or horizontal axis and our y-axis over here, vertical axis. And over here, I'm seeing 4 products. Because the products are 4, they are giving me the colors based on the months. And so, when I look at the first product, how can you explain the first product over here based on what we are seeing? Who can explain the first product here? Just the first product. Yes.
With the laptop,
Yes.
in January, the sales went to 850.
Okay.
Then February to almost 90. Then February, March, it came down to 1,001.
Okay. So February did better than March, right? All right. So you can see that for just laptop, in January the sales was not too much, but February we had a good performance, and then in March it dropped a little. So based on the 3 variables we have here, we have the January, February, March. This particular product is comparing the bars according to the months. Okay, so like Jeff said, what if you want to switch between the month and the products? Okay, let's see what can happen. When you look on the ribbon under chart design or design, you will see that we have several tools here for controlling our charts. From the very far left, you can see that we have add chart element. This add chart element, when you click on it, you'll be able to add several things to your chart. And all of these are there to help you make changes. We can see that there's a plus here. Can you see a plus here?
Yes.
Okay, because the plus is there, sometimes when you come to your chart itself, you can see the plus showing next to your chart. And when you click on the plus, you can see the elements showing. So you can see the elements that are enabled and the elements that are what? Disabled. If you want to enable something that is not there, you just check on it and it will show. Can you see something happening?
Yeah.
So if you want to see certain things that are not there, you can just enable them on the add elements, or just go to the add elements over here and add them. The next feature here is called quick layout. With a quick layout, I can change the arrangement. Over here, I can see my legend at the bottom. I can come here and look at the preview here. With this one, you can see that the legend is at the right, right? When I click on this, it will change it and put the legend at the right. Let's say you don't even have a title. Some charts do not have titles, like this one. There's no chart title. And you are asked to add a title to your chart. You are asked to add a title to your chart. There's no title. You can either add the chart title from the elements, or you can come to the quick layout and choose a layout that has a title. When you choose a layout that has a title, you'll be able to come back and edit that title. So the layout just shows to you how you should arrange your chart, and these are the previews. Based on how they are looking here, if you select them, that's how yours will look like. For example, if I want my legend to go to the bottom, I'm going to choose this layout. This, are you seeing this? When I click on this, see that I've changed the layout. If this is what I want. Okay, good. Apart from that, we have the next item here or feature here that says change what? Change colors. So over here we have the groups of colors that are used. I can change the groups of colors by just changing them from here. So if I don't like the first group of colors they give me, I can just come and change the group of colors here. So what it means is that there are several things you can change. You can even change the style. Do you see change styles? Watch this. You can click here to choose a different style, choose a different style, choose a different style based on how you want it to look like. If you want the numbers to show on it, fine. If you don't want, you can come here to the plus and remove the data labels and the numbers should go. So you can do several things to your chart. Now, when you come here, you see switch row stroke column, right? With this one, when you click on it, it is going to switch the data. Now, at first we had the legend had the months, and over here on the x-axis we had the product. Here we have switched between the month and the product. So the months are rather here and the products are rather in colors. So there are some data types that you can switch between x and y axis, or the items on the legend and the x axis, and whichever one looks best to you, you can go ahead and use. If you think having your charts this way is better than how we had 4 groups, you will decide. Sometimes, even after plotting your chart, you can come back and select the data if you made a mistake. Let me click on select data, and it will highlight. It is going to give me the data source dialog box here, and it will highlight the data. You can see that the data I use is highlighted. Can you see? Yes. Good. If you made a mistake in selecting the data, you can come back and reselect. So for your x-axis, this is what we have. That's the legend entries, and the x-axis, that's what we have. But the data range is what we have here. You can see sheet 1, A1, column D5. You can see a lot of dollar signs in between. Later, we'll learn about the cell referencing, and we'll learn about the dollar signs. Sometimes instead of writing cell A1, we write $A, $1. Sometimes we write $A1. Sometimes we write A, $1. They all mean different things if you want to achieve different things. So we will learn those ones too. They are extremely important. All right. Now, you can click on this arrow here and be given the chance to come back and reselect your data sets. Now I've selected the data again and it has displayed here. When I click on the arrow back, the chart is going to be recreated, and I'm going to see the chart. Now the chart I'm getting, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and maybe I don't understand why this chart doesn't make a lot of sense, or maybe it does, because we are comparing the 3 months. This blue one is talking about what? Total. It's talking about total. So maybe after comparing January and you have the total of January, you can compare the total against the total and the total here. If it makes sense to you, then you can go ahead and use it that way. But if you want to see the actual comparisons, the total should not be part at all. And most of the time, when you add total, you get a different chart altogether. That makes no sense whatsoever. Let me click on select data, and I'll come back here, and I'm going to change my selection and select this up to here. With this, when I come back, I can see that the chart has been recreated again. So even though you have the chart, you can click on select data and go and reselect your data to make sure your actual data is part of your chart. The next feature we see here is called change chart type. You can even change the type of chart you are using. Okay, so for this kind of data, what kind of chart can we use? Let's try the line chart and see if it will make sense. So if you don't like this chart, you can come and choose a different chart altogether. Let's choose the line chart and see. Alright, so I want us to try and interpret the line chart and see which one is better. Okay, so on the legend, we have our products here and we have our months here. Let's study these two charts and see which one is more meaningful to us and easier to understand.
To me, I would say that desktop is more preferable than other products.
Okay.
Because you could see that the desktop is almost at the higher level
Okay.
than the other ones.
Okay.
Although the desktop fell February.
Yes.
But if you compare the desktop with mouse and the keyboard,
Yes.
you see that the desktop is higher.
Exactly.
But if we talk about the laptop,
Yes.
you can see that in February,
Yes.
that is where the sales normally goes up, and that it has beat all of them.
Excellent.
But in terms of the trend, if you are checking, you can see that laptop do perform than all of them.
Excellent.
That
Excellent.
is mine.
Excellent. So you've done amazingly well. All right. So all the charts here have meanings and they all give us information. So you can check which one works best for you and which one you would like to use.
So sir, I can
Yes.
say something. So
Yes.
if in terms I'm a trader,
Yes.
I would say that okay, then I will put more money in the desktop maybe from January
Yes.
to somewhere, then getting to somewhere from February also
Yes.
I have to put more money there so that my product can this one will tell me
Exactly.
which product.
Exactly. So your charts has now given you information, and based on the information you are now making decision. Yes, so your decision based on wisdom gotten from your data. All right, so we've been able to explain all the lines, and we know that a line chart is also good for this data. Okay, so like I said, we've been able to apply several settings to our chart, and your chart is so flexible that you can apply a whole lot of settings to it to make it look exactly the way you want. And even if you want to change the chart altogether, you can change the type of chart. The last thing here is to move the charts, the location of the chart. So you can click on this and it will ask you whether you want to keep it in the same sheet 1 or move it to a new sheet. And moving it to a new sheet is going to move it to a special sheet designed for charts. And so that sheet is called chart 1. If you want to rename it, you can rename it. You can also leave it that way and click OK. When you click OK, you'll see that it will disappear from here and go to that new sheet. So sometimes you may have to put your chart on a new sheet. And so if you do that, it will appear nicely on the new sheet like this. All right. So you've been given some assignments and your job is to, okay, please. Yes. On the same sheet. Yes. Anytime you create a chart, it will be on the same sheet. You will only move it if you want to move to a different sheet. But when you create it, it will definitely be on the same sheet. Your question is if you want to keep it on the same sheet. Yeah, so immediately you create it, it will be on that same sheet. All you have to do is to position it. For example, the assignment you've been given, you are supposed to recreate this. So what we have here, you are supposed to recreate it. And who can tell me the type of chart we have here? Pardon? This is a line chart. Okay, so to create this line chart, you highlight your entire data here, again without the totals. You go to Insert, go to the section where we have line. So I click on the arrow and I will just choose the first one. If I want to show the points, then I'll come and choose it, but that's not what we are creating. So I click on this and immediately I have the chart. My job right now is to make it look exactly like this. So what can I do? First of all, I'll change the title. So if there's a title placeholder, you come inside and clear the old one and type what you want. So sales trend by product for 2020. Then I can see that the style needs to change. I'll come here and choose a different style. The question said I should position it under it, so let me just position it under it and compare. Let me widen it and see. Okay, so I can see that mine is looking some way. So what can I do? What can I do? Okay. So what's the difference you see between these two? What's the difference you see between the two? Don't you see any difference? There's a difference. What do you see? Okay. So the top one looks smoother, right? Okay, it is smoother than this. So if you want it in a smooth way, or you want to see the point, so wherever the angles are, that's where the points are. But if you want it smooth, you go ahead and do it that way. Now, your question said it should be exactly the same, so I have to make sure it is smooth like that. So let me go ahead and do that. Now, let me click on one of these or double click on one of these and see. After double clicking, I'm seeing a panel appear on the right. Let me close it and try something else. I can click on the whole line, right click and go to Format Data Series. So I right click on one of the lines and I came here to format data series. So when I did that, I saw a panel at the right here. With the panel at the right here, it's showing me all of these things, and let me click on the arrow here, and with that I can select the series one by one. What is selected here is desktop. Okay, let me start with laptop. So now that laptop is selected as the first one, let me see what we can do. Over here we have series options, over here we have effects, over here we have what we call fill and align. So under the first one, let me scroll down. I can see that there's an option here that says what? Smooth line. So when I click on it, I can see that that particular shape has been smoothing out, right? Okay, so over here I can come here again, click on the arrow and choose the next data series, desktop. Come down and smooth that one too. Click on this arrow, choose the third data series, come down and make it smooth. Click on the arrow, choose a fourth data series, come down here, make it smooth. So now it's looking smooth like what we had over here. Okay, so let me click here and okay, so we have our grid lines here. Okay, so the grid lines, what I did was that when you select most of these ones, they have some arrow next to it that will give you more options. So under the grid line, even though grid line is selected, when I came to the arrow, I saw that it was only the horizontal one that was selected. So I added the vertical, and I could see that the vertical is also showing. Please, can you see? Yes. The only difference now is that this one, I can see some glow around it, and this is not having that glow. And I think mine is having a shadow rather than the glow. And I think the shadow is making it more visible than even the top one. So we can leave it. If you want to add the glow can be added from here. So when you come to glow, you can carefully select the glow color or the glow effect and just choose the right color and take your time and make it look okay. And the amount of glow in it, you control everything and make it look okay. Let me come here and see. Here there was a glow. This is the color they gave, 1186. Okay, let me come here. The glow, they chose the orange, 11, transparency 86. I've achieved it, so it's looking similar. So all the settings are here. You can do that. You can see some small glow around it, right? So at least I've been able to do that. So you have 4 sheets, and you are supposed to on the first 2 you are supposed to recreate the same chart, exactly the same. The sheets 3 and 4, sheet 3 and 4, you are supposed to first of all identify the correct type of chart that should be used, and then you go ahead and you create the charts. So let's try it and see how you can do it. So you can start work now.